No intro. I have 95 movies left in this list. I'm jumping right in. Buckle up. At the very start of Gravity, there is a musical build-up that sucks you right in and then stops, preceded by like 40 seconds of soul-crushing silence as we orbit Earth. There's something about this profound silence that builds the sense of isolation and loneliness that will likely permeate the entire film. It immediately does a great job of quite literally pulling you into the world and emotionally preparing you for what's to come. Debris from a destroyed Russian satellite snowballs and starts to hit multiple satellites, knocking out communications until eventually killing Sharif, the peppy Indian man we never see, and striking the satellite they were working on and the ship. Dr. Stone, Sandra Bullock's character, is knocked flying away on a crane through the empty vastness that is space. And during this scene there are moments of silence so deep and guttural I had to pause the film as I felt such existential dread and fear that my body reacted as though I was watching a horror film. This woman, spinning endlessly further away from Earth, away from her co-workers and safety, into the cold, empty nothingness almost gave me a panic attack, all the while juxtaposed with this beautiful cinematography of her helmet fogging up and she pauses and just stops breathing for a moment, to being inside her suit with her, up close as she's having this palpable panic attack and continuing to spin and spin and spin, because there's no friction in space, so you would just do that forever until stopped by something. It is a great scene and a horrible first day for her. God damn, he not gonna be in Rush Hour 3. I wonder if he had a larger part in the film, because he didn't add much or hasn't so far. Maybe his corpse will have a role, but he was just kind of the excited guy whose face you never see until it gets blown off, and stuff like that is intentional. Like, there's a reason you don't see him until he's dead, even if just to show the destructive power of the debris. Rip to my man Sharif though. The music and cinematography in this film are so emotional and pivotal to the storytelling. They are of course important in any story, but they are essential in Gravity. They of course aren't actually in space, they're likely on cranes in an air-conditioned warehouse with like 100 safety people watching every second. And yet I feel like I'm watching actual astronauts fight for their life through space, and of course the acting does a great job of selling that, but the sound, or lack thereof, the music, the visuals of the Earth in the background sell this just as much as the acting does. Something a lot of really good stories do is raise the stakes. Give your protagonist some hope and then snatch it away. You see a similar thing with those cop shows where the first one or two suspects are never the real perpetrator. You couple the protagonist along with the audience, and in turn when they are crushed, the audience feels the same weight and desperation as the protagonist. And though I know they weren't going to get a pod back to Earth somehow, I am still shocked that they managed to snatch mine and Stone's hope away by having Kowalski drift off into space, leaving Sandra Bullock's character completely alone with little oxygen left. Personally, I would have just taken my helmet off. Dr. Stone perseveres though the odds are against her. She is completely and utterly alone in space with no air left, but she makes her way into the abandoned space station after this really intense first-person scene of her climbing for dear life. Finally, she has a moment of reprieve. She takes her suit off and curls into a ball like a baby, and it completely throws me off to the point that I just kind of laugh because it's way too on the nose. Like, you didn't bother to coat the broccoli and cheese here, you just kind of serving me broccoli. Though I love broccoli, I don't really like this scene. It just feels silly. Like, oh, she's like a child in the womb, safe, and once she leaves, she would be born anew. It just comes across as a writer going, hey, the red door symbolizes Greg's struggle with depression, instead of just allowing the audience to piece it together through decent storytelling. Though I will say, the scene is very pretty, just kind of corny. But it brings everything back though. Dr. Stone realizes the shuttle she is in has no fuel. It was those goddamn Russians again, and she is trying to use the radio to call out for help as she desperately floats in space with a shuttle that is starting to freeze over, and she hears the voice of someone, but it's a dude who doesn't speak English, using an AM radio. And Bullock does this amazing job of delivering this monologue of what can only be described as a pseudo conversation, as the man on the other end doesn't speak English, let alone know what's going on. And Bullock has this conversation of profound sadness that she knows she will die, and she feels so much sorrow that no one will miss her or mourn her or pray for her. While I'm not really a fan of the whole no one's an atheist in the foxhole thing, I do appreciate the scene and how she is just so desperate and sad and alone that she's grasping at anything she can to be remembered, less alone, anything. She has lost hope, so she decides to give up and turn off her oxygen. And I think there's just something about this scene that is just kind of beautiful. Hope that there is something better than today off in the distance somewhere is such an integral part of the human experience. The belief that the sun will rise and you will get through this moment in hell on the other side and have your time is ingrained in people. It's why the hero's journey is so popular. Sure, people get tired of it, but the idea of something better somewhere out there is the reason people keep going. Just as Dr. Stone is about to close her eyes and go to the upper room, she hallucinates Clooney's character giving her advice, and she's made anew, blah blah blah. It's heartwarming. She's no longer just going through the motions of life and feels anew. She does a thing and the sun rises over the planet. New person. She is on the other side of her hero's journey. Whatever. I know I just said all that stuff about hope and I stand by it, but I will say that the downside of a lot of stories, especially Western ones, is this notion that the protagonist will prevail in the end narrative. It can make stories predictable in a lot of ways. Like, you always know that for the most part, a movie for a Western audience will be an underdog story that no matter what they face, they will come out on top. And while that's fine, there's always a place in media and storytelling for those kinds of stories. I think it takes away some level of urgency, as though there is a perpetual safety net for the characters. So no matter how bad it got for Dr. Stone, I never once believed she wouldn't survive. Also, a big gripe I have with the film is Sandra Bullock's backstory, whatever, I suppose. You find out at some point she has lost the will to live because her daughter died, which is fine. I mean, it's not fine, but it's fine as far as a backstory. But it feels like a lazy insert. It's kind of just told to us, no flashbacks of them together inserted even when she is alone out there. No further elaboration of Stone's backstory. It's the complete bare bones of, oh hey, she had a daughter and she's depressed the daughter died. It's like, oh okay, I guess. Like, you have no choice but to try and feel something for her, and it feels unearned emotionally, which this entire film is emotional and the backbone of the film, so it feels just lazy in comparison to everything else about the film, like something they just kind of threw in at some point later on. The film ends with Dr. Stone finally getting back home, but they couldn't just let it end that way, so her shuttle sets on fire during re-entry and she almost drowns. She makes it to shore and they say they know where she is, but she is in the middle of nowhere and in her good astronaut drawers. The end. Overall, I think the film is fine. I think 97th is a fair placing. The film is beautiful and has amazing shots and amazing acting in a movie that is essentially Sandra Bullock and George Clooney for most of the movie, and just a little bit of voice acting sprinkled in. The story was emotional and compelling and made you want to root for Stone the entire time. The musical scoring was insane. I felt like I was in a theater listening to an orchestra. It was impactful and had depth and weight to it. Phenomenal, honestly. Based on those things alone, a great movie, solid placement. Where I think the movie falls short is the writing can be a little hollow, which is fine. There's so many moments of silence in the film, but because there are so many moments of silence in the film, when they do talk, I listen more intently, and I have to say, it didn't always grip me. And I mean this strictly with dialogue. The acting was great, though the characters felt a little shallow. And I get it. It's an hour-and-a-half film. You can only cram but so much backstory into a film of that length. But I don't know, I think I'd rather them just not have one. I think not wanting to die in space would have been enough of an emotional driver. It just felt like a really hollow emotional aspect of the film that wasn't even necessary. It gave the character kiddie pool levels of depth. And while the shots were beautiful, they can feel a little dated at times visually, which of course is nothing that they can do about and would have been fine for when it came out, of course. But watching it currently, it can take you out of it a little bit. Overall, this movie is about like a 6.5, 7, I think. It's a great film and deserves its placement on the list. Sandra Bullock acted her face off in this film. With that being said, thanks for watching.